I'm banned from Hollywood Park.
What? You're banned from Hollywood Park? What
I'm
happened?
banned. I'm not allowed to go there.
Did you get into a fight?
No, I didn't get in a fight. I told a guy I was gonna kill him.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Right? You're playing at Hustler?
Yeah, this is Hustler.
Okay, cool. So Hustler also too, Ryan Feldman says that he's going to have that live stream up. Although Live at the Bike just started last week, I think. Live, they've got the plexiglass. I have no idea when that's going to go off at Hustler, but it'll be interesting. So 1025 with a $25 big blind ante. Okay, how deep are you?
I think I'm like 8K effective with this villain.
Okay, 8K effective.
So I'm in the cutoff. Folds to me. I've got 10-9 of diamonds, and I open to 75.
About the average open,
And
basically.
yeah,
Yeah.
3x. And
Okay.
the villain, I describe him as like a old school winning rag who probably knows as much about pile solver as I know about European polka music.
Yeah, this guy has played on Live at the Bike. He's probably my age. I'm not going to necessarily mention his name, but yeah, basically he's sort of an older school player, but still a winner in the game, but maybe not as well studied, I guess, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
good description.
Yeah.
All right, so 10-9 of diamonds, flop comes
So I'm sorry,
10-8.
he called in the big blind, right?
Yeah, he calls a 75.
Okay.
So flop is 10-8-5 with two clubs.
Okay.
And he checks. I bet 100 and he calls.
Check hero 100 call. Did you have a backdoor diamond draw or no? I assume not. You probably would
No,
have
I
said
did
it, right?
not.
So I'm going to put up
I
10,
did
8,
not.
10 of clubs, 8 of clubs, 5 of hearts. You have 10 9 of diamonds. And you get check two and you bet 100 and he calls.
Yep.
Okay.
Turn is an interesting card. It's the 9 of clubs, so it brings in the front door flush draw and brings in a lot of straights as well, and
Mm-hmm.
gives me top two pair.
Yep.
And he checks, and I decide to check it back. I think this is just uh, too thin for me to bet for value, especially against a guy who's, a winner capable of making folds. And like, I don't know. It's too thin. When the 6-7 gets there, the queen jack gets there, the clubs get there. I think it's just too thin to bet for value here.
Sure. Sure.
So
No, I tend to agree with you. Now, what's interesting here also too is that, um, when you look at an old school sort of player, like an old school kind of winner, an old school technique actually is to actually come out and lead on the turn with big hands. And this particular guy, I actually think that he might actually do a fair amount of leading on the turn with flushes as opposed to check. I mean, it's just a little bit unbalanced, which is obviously totally fine most of the time at this level. It's just something that I just thought of actually before just right now, even though you texted me this hand yesterday. So turn goes check check. Pot still 375. Okay.
yeah, I think as far as him like leading, I think he'd be more likely to do that against a recreational player. I think he's
Right.
probably going to lean towards checking against me a little bit more.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But I could be wrong, but that's just what I'm assuming.
Of course, you say a
Um,
lot of straights come in: Queen Jack, 6-7, Jack 7, right?
yeah,
Yep,
all of those hands.
yep.
So the river is an offsuit 8. So the final board is 10-8-5-9-8. And now he thinks for a second and he comes out and bets 400, which is a small overbet.
So you still have top two of the board pairs, but you're not filled, right? It's 10-8-5. You see bet call, turns a 9. You make top two, but it's wet top two when the club comes out. Check, check. River's an 8, 10-8-5-9-8. He leads for 400 here at the end, which, when I was thinking about his value here, Squish, obviously the thing that sort of, I mean, it's a very large bet here at the end, right? And some of the things that, sort of came out at me in terms of that. Obviously, you could have boats, right? You could have some boats, obviously, maybe some flushes, and maybe some straights, and of course he could have 8x. It's quite, you wonder what if he's taking that sizing with all of those hands. here's sort of my take on this, and this is where I can obviously see where you're going with this. I assume that you want to look at it doesn't seem like folding is probably it's not like there's a one liner out there. All you did was just check back the turn, right? I mean, I know you lose to an 8 now. It doesn't seem like folding really is a viable option either. I could see all three options, and it sounds to me like you're sort of turning your head here because maybe you've played some PLO recently where you might want to do something. Is that what you're thinking here? You might want to do something?
Well, I'm thinking a couple things. I'm thinking number one, I think he's going to three bet off like pocket tens a good amount.
Uh-huh.
And I think he's gonna raise right away on the flop. Like he's gonna be unbalanced towards like
Fast play.
raising off his fast playing his value. Like I think he's gonna raise like his 10-8 suited. I think he's gonna raise his pocket eights. I think he's gonna raise his pocket fives, all on the flop. And like and looking at my hand, it's like I block the 8-9. I block the 10-8. So it's like I just think he has like no boats. I think he has zero, like absolutely zero boats here. And I think he is the type of guy who is very, very capable of folding straights and small and medium flushes here. And so if I block the boats, I know he doesn't have a boat, and I know he's going to fold his straights and he's going to fold some of his flushes. Like, I just think me calling here is kind of lighting money on fire with his sizing, because I think he's just saying essentially, like, I have a straight or a flush or like ace eight. And I don't, with that turn card specifically, like, I don't really know what I beat.
Okay, so let's get into that for a second. So you think that folding is a better option than calling?
Yes, I do.
Well, I'm gonna play devil's advocate though, but I mean, you block a lot of the boats though. I mean, that's kind of where that's kind of why I think that folding isn't necessarily an option for the reasons that you just stated. That sounds like you're sort of twirling in your head about raising. I think everything that you've said is entirely viable. My first sort of, sometimes we can be somewhat jaded by our history, right? Because you told me who this was against, and I said I would never raise this guy in this spot because he would never fold to me. And then I thought, well, that must translate to you also because he thinks you're capable, but you might have different history.
He probably I mean, he probably just thinks I'm a nit. He probably just thinks like tight, like nitty, like Reg who doesn't get out of line and like just has it. Like,
no, I mean, if you think you're a nitty reg, then you could go for it. If you think that, I just don't know how often he's going to be taking this sizing and bet folding a value hand in this spot. Because really, I mean, you're saying, you're obviously trying to represent like you have a boat. So whether that or quads, right? 10s, 8s, 10, 8.
Yeah, and I think it's like pretty viable too that like I can have 10s. I can have 8-9. I can have pocket fives because like all those hands I'm checking back turn, right? Like I check back top too. So like I can have all the boats and like it's just like he never really has a boat.
I mean, also too, I mean, someone's saying what boats do you have? I mean, I assume you're opening 10-8 suited, you're opening 10s, you're opening 8s, you're opening 5s. You could definitely have 9s here too, right? I mean, and pocket 8s. So
yeah, like I have pretty much all the boats. Like, yeah, I've got all the boats except like 8-9 suited is probably the only one I check back the flop.
So it sounds to me like you want to raise here. And then how did you decide on your sizing?
I took like a little bit over 4x just because like he's overbetting, so I thought like I don't have to go too crazy. And so I went to 1700.
And again, you wonder in this spot, and again, this is what I was talking about, where sometimes you go to the tools in a given scenario, even if it wasn't this particular combo that was taken as a bluff, I do wonder here theoretically the hands that you do take as a bluff here at the stack depth, and of course you can't run this a lot of times at these stack depths, what the sort of quote unquote optimal sizing is here to make him indifferent with certain hands. Like, are you supposed to polarize up to 5,000? Are you supposed to move all in? You know what I mean?
I'd be very curious. I haven't run this hand actually. I'd be very curious to see like what sizing it prefers here when he takes the overbet.
So you bet. So he goes 400. You make it 1,700, and then what ended up happening?
He thought for about 20, 30 seconds and kind of like smiled and like checked his cards like three times and folded. So I'm guessing he probably had a straight or 8x or something like that because he didn't think too long.
Peter in the live chat, Stay in School, said, can't fold this. I'm assuming, Peter, you're talking about Squish's hand or to Squish's raise.
Is that Peter stay in school?
Yeah, Peter, Stay in School.
Because
Yeah.
if there's one thing I know about Peter is he does not like to fold.
No, that's sure. He said, make
Peter
him
does
show.
not fold. Peter goes and plays live poker and sends me hands with like an 85-year-old man where like Peter's like calling off pocket jacks 300 big blinds deep because he's not supposed to fold.
Well,
So
on the video today that we put up on Crush Live Poker, by the way, some people were asking me if we had a live stream last week. Well, if you're living under a rock, I had a strike, which hopefully will not happen again, so I can put up any content. But we're back to normal. But I'm pretty sure the video that came out today is Peter's hand, where he tried to bluff a guy with King 9, turn trips into a bluff on a 4 flush board as a check raise on the river, and it did not work. So there you go.
yeah.
I mean, coming away from this though, still, I don't know, man. The river sizing, when he goes 400 to 1700, he's still getting laid. I mean, I guess he's still going to be getting laid like 2-1, right? Like even if the pot's like 400 at the end, he bets 4 and a 4, that's 8. You make it 17, it's 25. So it's 20. Yeah, he's getting like 2-1, 13-25 to call. I don't know.
You think I should go bigger?
I do. Absolutely.
Because I'm repping both. So I should be going like 3,000.
I just don't know if he's folding any of those hands to that sizing that you think. I mean, you say he sort of sheepishly smiles. I wonder. I just, yeah. I mean, the guy probably underbluffs a little bit too, and it's surprising. If you had told me this, what had happened, I would be very surprised. And I would be like, well, if you folded, your hand was probably good enough for a call. But
I just like I can't I just like I didn't think he was bluffing. I don't think that like you said, like I don't think this guy bluffs too much.
Yeah.
Especially for this sizing. But I don't know. I don't have nearly as many hours with him as you do. So
Squish, I appreciate it. Check out the Mark Goon YouTube channel.